Good morning. A policeman's widow is disappointed with President Obama's decision to tap a man named Harold Hurtt, Houston's former police chief, for a top post in the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Office. She feels his stance on immigration helped play a role in her husband's violent death as a Houston police officer. We're joined by Jocelyn Johnson, whose husband was killed by an illegal immigrant, and her attorney, Ben Dominguez. Good morning, Mr. Dominguez and Mrs. Johnson. Mrs. Johnson, I'm very sorry for your loss, and I thank you for your husband's service. Tell us about this. You're suing Houston, and you're suing Mr. Hurtt based on Houston's policy with regard to immigration. Tell us why.
Well, we're suing the chief of police because he refused to implement a policy that allowed Sergeant Johnson to communicate with ICE when a police officer detained a suspect on the streets.
And Mrs. Johnson, tell me, do you have confidence that the court system will do your husband's memory justice with regard to Mr. Hurtt?
Yes, I believe so. Once the new administration takes effect, I think he'll make some changes that'll positively affect the change that we need.
Now, Mrs. Johnson, you have a connection with the police department in Houston now?
Yes, I'm a police sergeant with the Houston Police Department.
So you're a police officer as well. What is the policy now in Houston with regard to illegal immigrants and detention of same?
It has remained the same. It has not changed. Go ahead.
So do you feel that puts you at risk as a police sergeant in Houston in the same way that your husband was put at risk for a man who had been actually deported once and convicted of crimes in the past before he shot your husband in a police car? Does that put you and other police officers at risk in Houston?
Yes, sir, I believe so.
Did you ever receive any statement or any call from Mr. Hurtt, or did he ever say that he was sorry for the policy that was in place in Houston at the time he was your husband was killed, Mrs. Johnson?
No, he never personally apologized to me. He did treat me very well after my husband got killed, though. I have to make sure I say that.
And Mrs. Johnson, do you believe that he is fit, based upon his career in Houston and based upon allegations with regard to police officer deaths in Phoenix before, to head up the federal government's effort to work with state and local organizations on illegal immigration? Do you think he's fit for the job, and is the president making a mistake?
I think he's competent. I don't think President Obama would have chosen him had he not been competent. I don't know why he didn't change the policy. I don't know if it was because of the prior mayoral administration that may have played a part. So that I'm not certain about, and I'm not really enlightened on the facts in Phoenix, so I can't really comment on that aspect of it.
Well, Mr. Dominguez, Attorney Dominguez, and Mrs. Johnson, we thank you for your service, Mrs. Johnson, and we wish you and your family well, and we grieve your husband's loss as well.
Thank you so much.
Be well. Thank you for being with us. Thank you.